All right, hit me with that cumbia beat. What's up, Taco World? I'm taco journalist Mando Rayo, and welcome to the Tacos of Texas podcast, El Cinco, produced by Denny Productions in partnership with KUT and KUTX Studios. And we're back exploring taco culture in Texas through the eyes of the people in the Lone Star State. So grab your favorite breakfast taco and plenty of ganas, and get ready for some muy tasty taco conversations. Today, we're live at KUT Austin in KUTX Studio 1A for a special episode with Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Maria Hinojosa. So, we are here live, so give it up for the tacos. So I'm very excited to have this conversation today. We have Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. I'm kind of like in awe of your presence right now. But two Mexicanos talking about not only tacos, but the meaning behind tacos and the community that comes with that, right? So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Maria Hinojosa.
Gracias.
Maria, so it's kind of funny, like I've listened to you for years, so it's kind of funny, like the echo in my ear, like hearing you like in person.
It's weird, right?
It is weird.
And what you're not really saying out loud is also, oh my God, she's so small. She's such a chaparra. And I'm wearing 6-inch heels. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, Maria, we're in your casa, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of where you started, at UT campus.
Yeah. So Latino USA was founded by our founding executive producer, Maria Emilia Martin. May she rest in peace. It was conceived originally by Gilberto Cárdenas, who at the time was the director of the Center for Mexican American Studies. And so we started in 1993 in a place that did not look like this. Mm-hmm. We were in the basement, por ahí.
Un cuartito.
Yeah, un cuartito. But it is where it started. And most people, when they found out about Latino USA on public radio, they were like, oh, that's such a cute idea. Oh, it's going to last like 3 years. That's like so not going to make it. What year is it? 2025? We were created in 1993. So wow. Do the math. We're over 30 years on the air. And what that does is it creates an extraordinary amount of connection with your audience. Mm-hmm. And they connect to us because of our integrity and honesty. And so I have a lot of memories of being on this campus. Yeah. And I have a lot of memories of food in this city and in this state. Let's get to it.
All right. Well, let's go back to Latino USA and the importance of telling those stories. And having like a station like NPR as when you think about NPR, you think of kind of very mainstream type of news organization. Why was it important for you to really kind of tell not only Latino stories, but stories coming from people of color communities?
Right. Well, so at the time when we were doing that, when Maria Emilia Martin and I were talking about the launch of Latino USA, she was a creative mind behind it all, and she tapped me to be the anchor. And we were, la verdad, how do I say this? Well, maybe people who listen to this podcast will get it. O sea, éramos medio revolucionarias. You know what I'm saying? In the sentido de que we were Latinas within NPR, specifically National Public Radio, the headquarters, the corporate headquarters. And we knew that we wanted to, as it were, shake things up. Mm-hmm. Not just to make to be rabble rousers, but rather to make people think. So we were very clear that it was going to be a show that was authentically bilingual. Yeah. O sea, no forzado. It was not going to be a show in Spanish, pero como que if it happened, it happened. Yeah. And we also, we're good journalists, which means we look at data, and we could already see the data on the demographics of Latinos and Latinas, because unless you have your head in the sand and you don't want to see it, we are and have been the future of this country for the past, I mean, in the sense that our population is growing.
Right.
Therefore, our influence, therefore, how we see the world, how we experience the world is not, it's not like a, and I don't use this term in any of my work, but for the context of it, it's not a minority perspective.
We're not.
Por eso yo no uso esa palabra. That
Sí.
word never comes out of my mouth unless
right.
I'm trolling it, as it were.
Consider yourself trolled, America.
I mean, I just don't think that the term minority has been beneficial to our country because white America is scared of becoming a minority. And what we're trying to say is, yo, but you like our tacos.
Right.
You like
Yeah.
you like us-ish, you know? So, ¿cuál es el problema? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Latino USA was there to say, our stories matter. We have fought to try to get them into the mainstream.
Right.
You see us as a sidebar story. We see us as a central story in the United States of America. And so that's why we claimed this space. And we knew that it was not just political, it was not just data, but it was about, you know, uplifting stories because that's also who we are, right? It's not just, it's not all, though we do love to cry.
Yes.
But so that's what we've been doing. And, you know, Maria left the show. Maria moved to Central America in the early 2000s. And then I took over the show with Futuro Media, which is my nonprofit media company. I took over the show in 2010. And now Futuro Media owns Latino USA outright. And now, in a crazy twist of things, not only are we distributed by public media and public radio on almost 400 stations, if not already 400 stations, but we're distributed commercially by iHeartMedia.
What?
What? ¿Cómo pasó eso? You know, and that basically allows us to have access to about 250 million listeners on a monthly basis. How could we say no? Even though Latino USA will always be a public radio, independent production. It's ours. Yeah. It's ours.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, as I think about kind of the stories of Latinos and just gente and maybe even underrepresented communities, ¿verdad? I often think about food. Food is kind of this way that it opens doors, right? And we always say tacos. We use tacos as a Trojan horse to understand people and their communities and their issues, ¿verdad? And so, in regards to kind of your reporting, you know, it's 2025, everyone, right? And tacos are hitting different. They're being politicized. And it didn't start this year. You know, they've been politicized for many years. And now people are like, well, like, can we actually, you know, like we're both online and we're always like, you know, sharing our stories, like, and for me, it's super important to understand, like, so what's behind the tacos? What are those stories, and how do we share that, right? And even if in a political environment, it's important to kind of use our voice to share those stories, right? So what are you seeing out in the, you know, as you travel the world, Chicago, you know, some of the raids that have been happening in restaurants? What are you seeing on the impact of that?
Well, actually, I have to respond honestly to when you started talking about tacos and kind of memory, and I was just like, yeah, like my earliest, happiest memories, because I want to be happy first before I talk about the horror that I've been seeing. And like how I profoundly and radically identified as a proud Mexican immigrant girl on the south side of Chicago was knowing that I could eat, I don't know what it was, like 20 tacos parados, tacos de cochinita. Yeah. No, actually, it was, was it cochinita? No, al pastor. It was al pastor with pineapple. Óyeme. O sea, like my American...
Freshly cut.
Yeah, standing, you know, as a little girl. So I'm trying to think, like, was I 10? But we counted them. Everybody in the family was counting, pues, cuantos, no? And I think I got up to, like, I don't know if it was like 17 or 20, but and you know, we would pride ourselves so that was in Yucatan, because we would drive down from Chicago.
Okay.
And so in Mexico City, it was like the local taqueria Tacos Parados, which was called Tacos Los Arcos, which is No longer there. I just drove by and they're no longer there. In Satélite, in the suburbs of Mexico City. But then we would pride ourselves on going to any place in Mexico City that we had heard. There was no digital era. This is the 70s, right?
Yeah.
That we had heard had great tacos parados. So tacos, and this is like outside of the home, aparte de lo que comíamos adentro de la casa, ¿no?
Sí.
So the relationship of tacos and our memory, our childhood memories, is profound and deep.
Yeah.
Now, you want to compare that with memories right now of little, very specifically, we'll talk about Mexican and Mexican-American kids. And I'm going to use Mexican and Mexican-American because of this conversation, but it implies Hondureño, Colombiano, from Ghana, from Haiti, any child that is a child of who is not born here or is the child of immigrants or undocumented immigrants is in a state of terror right now.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that whatever it is that they're eating in these moments has to be a source of profound comfort.
Yeah.
And we also know the horror that people are not leaving their homes to go shopping. So I'm thinking about kids that are actually maybe hungry, right? Because they want to eat the tacos parados, but they've been told, well, we can't go out. So, that's why I wanted to start with the real positive memories, because I try to find joy in every... I live like Einstein. Einstein says there's only two ways to live. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and two is as though everything is a miracle.
Nice.
And so I choose to be in this highly existential state, especially now, where it's like casi todo es un milagro, and there can be miracles of like profound joy, but then there's the miracle of horror. I mean, it's a miracle in the sense of like, how the hell did this happen?
Right.
Not a beautiful miracle, a miracle of horror. And I've just been on the front lines in Chicago and in Los Angeles, and being Mexican, being Latino, Latina, Latinx, Latine, they have made us into the target of hate by this government.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use some very extreme terms, and people are getting very upset with me, but I'm just like, well, are you there? Come with me.
Yeah.
Because I survived 9/11 as a journalist in New York City, and I covered that story, and I remember feeling that night like the bombs were going to fall on my apartment in Manhattan, and just like that terror, and then just kind of living with that real fear, and then feeling that fear on the streets of Chicago and LA. And so it becomes, it's the government that is terrorizing us.
Yeah.
Like, what? It is the government. It is mostly men in masks. By the way, many of them, shamefully, Latino and Latina. So talk to your family members because they are doing this.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's, the other side is like the thought of a child eating una tortilla de sal, just tortilla con sal, which is something that we love. But also I'm like, but is that child satisfied with that, But then again, but that child is feeling comfort. So I'm very, I think the appropriate word is traumatized, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of trauma in our communities happening, and it just didn't start, obviously, with this year. But here it's like it's in our doorsteps, right? And so we often, those of us that have kids, that's kind of like, that's always there. It is always there. For us during the first Trump, there was a lot of stress around that because Austin has been a sanctuary city, right? And so it was targeted. And so that's why they're targeting LA and Chicago, right? And now Portland. And so that stress is there.
Portland, that hotbed of Mexicans.
Yes.
Portland, where the Chicanos are out of control.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, right? But at the same time, it's also like, how do you give comfort or keep the stress at bay for your children, right? And that's kind of like for us, at least for me as a father, me and my wife, and really focusing on that because there's a lot of stuff out there, you know. So how do you do that? And then when you think about like what gives them comfort, right? Is a taco parado or well, for folks that don't know what that is, there's some folks that might not know what
Oh
that
my
is.
God! Of course, I
Yes.
have to realize that's true. So taco parado is it is a taco that is eaten standing up. And so it's kind of like, well, what does it? And actually, the standing up part we were talking, Mondo, is
Yeah.
actually really important. The standing up of it,
Yeah.
because it means that it is. Well, I think the relationship with the person who's making the taco is different because you're actually oftentimes ordering it from him
Right.
or her directly.
Yep.
Truly, mostly men. Okay. But then
But who's making the tortillas? Ah.
always the women. Siempre. So true.
¿Verdad?
So the taco parado, it is very much a Mexico City thing.
Yeah.
Because it means it's kind of doing something on the go, as Mexico City is. It is ridiculously fresh. And it is about the standing. Like I was just having one of these. We'll talk about this taco in a moment. But I was having standing tacos, very particular kind of tacos, in Mexico City, steps away from El Zócalo, the presidential palace. And it was about the crowding of the sidewalk. It was about the bumping elbows with whoever it is who's standing next to you, which could be a businessman or it could be a police officer. It's also about tacos parados happening at any time, right?
Yeah.
Because they happen late into the night after a lot of drinking. You go have a taco parado, but sometimes in the morning, you know, if you know the place to go, you can get tacos parados for breakfast. So yeah, and the thing about it is that, you know, I always wanted to open my own taqueria, but in New York, where I live now, you actually can't do that. Kind of like they have very strict rules on open grilling, etc. So it's not that easy to have a taco parado. You have taco places in New York, but most of them are you gotta sit down. There's a few, but truly they don't ever match to the scale of Mexico City taco, except for one
Okay. What?
in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
I know. I'm just being honest.
Well, I do hear there's a big a pulga in Atlanta.
Oh,
that- yeah.
Georgia
Yeah.
was one of the original receiving spots for Mexicanos when the South began to transform. Georgia and North Carolina, but now it's the entire South.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are going to have next generation Southern American tacos for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
for sure. I mean, existen, but I'm like being very specific, like Mississippi tacos or Alabama tacos. Like what? I mean, you're laughing, but it's true. I mean, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
and we don't know what that's gonna be.
Right.
But I can't wait. And that's what everybody's freaking out about because the South has experienced the Southern, so Texas, obvio, pero like the South has experienced the most intense demographic change over the past 25 years. And frankly, I've been documenting it. So
Yeah, beautiful,
I'm here
beautiful.
for it.
Yeah, and then, you know, like I always say, it's every Mexican's dream to open up their own taqueria.
I didn't know I shared that with so many Mexicanos, but okay.
Yeah. But, you know, and then obviously, you know, whether you're a vendor, you have a truck or anything like that, it's kind of easier. There are some, like you said, some regulations that hinder kind of that process. But we'll find a way, you know, come to my backyard. I'll cook you up some tacos.
Oh, well, we weren't talking about homemade tacos. We were talking about the kind that you got to go buy. But homemade, yeah, no, we got some serious homemade tacos for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Maria. And then also, you know, you were just in Mexico City. So tell us about that trip, what you were doing, but also tell us about this question mark around tacos that you were like, okay, we were talking back in the green room and around this taco that surprised you, I guess.
Yes. So we were in Mexico City to continue doing the reporting of people who have been removed or deported. So we've been reporting about that in Chicago, in Los Angeles, and then we went to Mexico City. We also were there to see if the president, Claudia Sheinbaum, would answer my question, which she did. 4 of them, by the way, if you didn't see it. It's a little
Yeah.
viral.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud of that because I don't even know if I could get into the White House to ask. I don't even know if I could get into the White House, period, asking a question. So then I was also there. We're doing a couple of different stories. And one of the stories which we're doing is me documenting my reclaiming of my Mexican citizenship. So I am getting my Mexican citizenship back after, I had to give it up in 1989. So Mexico would not allow for dual citizenship when I became a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And so it has taken me about a decade just because it's a long process and you think about it for 5 years before you begin the process. And then the pandemic happens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we're documenting that. And as part of that, I was going to get my INE, which is my voter registration card, which is basically your national ID card. My colleague, who's Mexican, was like, well, let's go have this type of tacos. And I was like, oh my God, I've never had those type of tacos. And she was like, you're not Mexican. I was like, pero ¿cómo? And she was like, you're not Mexican.
Ya te hiciste gringa.
Yeah. She's like, no. Si no has comido estos tacos, no eres mexicana. ¿Cómo puedes decir? And I was like, bro, really? Like what? Do you have any idea which tacos I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I mean, besides there's like the very traditional, the parados, obviously, al pastor, carnitas, buche, más, before.
Nothing else. You got nothing else.
Yeah.
Tacos de canasta.
Oh, we were just talking about that. Talking about that. Yes.
Or tacos sudados.
Sí.
So you've never eaten them?
Yeah. I have. And in fact, Mira, I'm going to shout out you because we were just talking about the difference between the tacos al vapor versus tacos de canasta. You know?
Wait, there's a difference?
And yeah. So
between al vapor y canasta. Okay, so here's what's up. I am very particular about my tacos. And I have been since a child. Because they were such a huge part of my life. Whether they were bought on the street or at home. And so the fact that I had never eaten un taco sudado, taco de canasta, I know I was being shamed, but I'm not ashamed. Con todo respeto to my chilangos and chilangas, I get it. I would eat another one, pero no soy fan.
No te gustaron. ¿Por qué?
And that's why, and by the way, I'm prepared to have these conversations. You should know that this has happened before.
Okay.
Because I'm so proudly chilanga and Mexican that when people started talking about burritos, and I was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I don't eat that. Yo no como burritos. No soy gringa de comer burritos. Así, hard shell tacos. No, I don't eat that stuff.
Yeah.
But a sad story, but ends with a nice thing, right?
Okay.
Because I came to El Paso to cover the massacre.
Oh, yeah.
So it was horrible.
Yeah.
But we were looking at kind of like what provoked the massacre. And so we went to eat Cristóstomos burritos in El Paso.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, okay, now I'm a fan. I will eat these.
Because those are
burritos.
Real burritos.
Okay,
you know what
so
I
that's
mean?
what
They're
I'm
not
saying.
just like this
So the thing about taco
Chipotle
sudado,
burrito thing.
Correct. So the thing about taco sudado is I think the first thing that freaked me out was the name. I don't understand sweaty tacos. So the name gave me a problem. And then it was like tacos de canasta. And I'm like, bro, I don't understand though. How can you have tacos in una canasta? Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, what? So I think conceptually, I had never wrapped my head around it. My mom, we're going to have a long conversation because I called her. I was like, Ma, he comido tacos sudados? And she's like, well, maybe. And I'm like,
maybe.
Why didn't you feed me tacos sudados? It's your fault,
Yeah.
But so the experience of eating them in the morning, because I know that they're a morning thing.
Yeah, they're mañaneros.
The experience of eating them in that space, a una cuadra del Zócalo, right there, like I'm down for the vibe. I'm totally down for the vibe. I think what needs to happen is I need to be a little bit more particular now that I'm becoming a bit of a connoisseur, which is no me lo llenes tanto.
Sí, sí.
Don't fill it too much for me, so that I have enough place to put the salsa and lo que le ponen el verde. Yeah, I think that would be my biggest critique, is that they were just como muy llenos. And they were moist.
They were moist. Yeah, they are. They're moist.
I know. Yeah. I'm going to keep on trying, people. I am going to keep on trying.
Yes.
I promise you that.
Yeah, you do have a couple of versions where they're moist, right? They're steamed. And then the other one, they actually also do some aceite, some oil.
Okay.
So
I'm going to keep on.
So they tend to be like a little bit more
I will develop
greasy.
my tacos sudados etiquette and critique.
Love it. Well, it's interesting because like growing up, it's like you ate what you ate growing up. And if you didn't go out to eat as a kid, like for me, that's kind of like how I grew up. I grew up with, flour tortillas, and we ate burritos, but also taquitos. But we would hardly go out to eat.
Correct.
And so we didn't get that influence of the different styles, until later in life.
Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., growing up in Chicago, we didn't go out to eat. There were two places where we went. One was Tai Samyang, that it's like a historical place, OG Cantonese Chinese food, where the owners at that time still used an abacus. That was crazy. I saw that in real life. That's where we would go when we would go out.
Yeah.
And the other place was a place called the Mexican Inn, which was so not Mexican. But my parents liked to take us because it was actually Chicago Mexican food. And as kids, we liked the fact, excuse me, it was, ¿cómo era? Pues era como, pues no sé si eran enchiladas. I don't even know if they called it, but it was yellow. So
yellow.
We know it was a problem. But as kids, we thought it was cool.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, this is like American style. But that was it. Like, no comíamos afuera. We really didn't. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys. I actually have to answer this. I'm sorry. Just give me a moment, please. Also, I'll need the audio from you.
Atención, los delincuentes pueden ahora llamar registrados postpagado teléfonos celulares. Gracias, Cursa. Centrilen, puede comenzar la conversación ahora. Buenos días.
¿Qué pasó, Estrella?
¿Cómo estás?
Mamita, estoy en Austin.
Oh, wow.
Entonces, estoy grabando un podcast frente a un público que todos te están escuchando. Can you all say, hola, Estrella?
¡Hola, Estrella!
Estoy aquí con como... Estoy como con 50 gentes haciendo una grabación en vivo aquí en Austin. Ok. Sí, mi amor. ¿Me puedes llamar como hora tuya como a las 3, 4 a más tardar? ¿Sí? Sí te contesto. ¿Ok? Te quiero. Espérate. Espérate. Can you all say we love you, Estrella?
We love you, Estrella.
¿Oíste?
I love you too. Oh, my God.
Te adoro, mamita. Hablamos luego.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. La persona que llamó ha colgado.
So, that's why I had my phone with me.
Okay. Is that
That's
your
why
mamita?
I had my phone, is because I was worried that she was going to call.
Okay.
Estrella is, well, where are we? We're in Austin. So the border of Oklahoma is what, like 6 hours away from here? 7?
Yeah.
So she's on the border of Texas and Oklahoma in a maximum security men's prison. Estrella is a woman. She's a trans woman. And we've been reporting exclusively on her case. If you are fans of Latino USA, you will know this. We've been reporting exclusively on her case since 2017. She will be getting out in July of 2026. And she is the first person that we know of in 2017. The first person that we know of that was taken by Donald Trump's ICE and Border Patrol from a courtroom. They took her. And so that's why I've been reporting on her case. And my next book is about Estrella, because Estrella I think you heard her voice. She's in the worst possible place. She's in a maximum security Texas men's prison where I am banned from visiting her by your state. And yet she sounded happy and joyous. And thank you for doing that. I need the audio.
Yeah, of course.
And so the book is basically about how the most unloved, the most hated person in our country who's in the most horrific situation can teach me lessons of life about joy, happiness, and love. So
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's explore that. Let's explore this idea around where, the administration say, oh well, we're only if they or just kind of the rhetoric, right? Oh, they got to do it the legal way, and they got we're only going after certain people, criminals and whatever, but they're going after anybody. If you look like us, you're gonna get stopped. So what would your response be to people that have kind of that idea around doing it a certain way, doing it the legal way, as those talking points they kind of adopt into kind of their, in a sense, their value set, right?
Right. So I like, because I'm a frontline journalist, I like to base what I do on fact, right? So I do tell people, can you just open your eyes? Like, do you walk around your city saying like, oh my God, these undocumented immigrants, oh my God, they're such criminals. Oh my God, crime is rising like crazy in Austin. You can't go out. Oh my God, those undocumented immigrant mass shooters. No fucking mames.
Yeah.
Perdón.
Yeah. No?
Pero no.
Yeah.
O sea, that is not true. So, sorry for the F-bomb, but I get very upset about these things because it is a narrative that is being told about us. And I'm going to make this comparison and people hate it. But for the sake of pushing the envelope, another targeted people that a narrative was created about them that made people hate them were the Jews. Okay? That's what happened.
Yeah.
And the person who taught me never to use the term illegal, as in illegal immigrant, illegal human being, was Elie Wiesel, who survived the Nazis. And what he said to me was, you can never label a human illegal because that is the first thing the Nazis did with the Jews. We were illegal conceptually.
Right.
So all of us have to, again, maybe in different tones, have this conversation of, but what's really happening? Who are we really seeing? Let's together look at the FBI data about crime in the United States.
Yeah.
Let's just spend a moment. Can we do it? The problem is that we get to a point where somebody will say, I don't believe the FBI data. Well, what data do you believe? I believe whatever Donald Trump says. Entonces ya tenemos un problema, and we're at a point now where we cannot trust. I mean, it's a horror, but that's all part of the creation of authoritarian regimes, right? Is to take away the data or make it distrustful.
Yep.
So that's why open your eyes. What do you see? And we actually know that crime has decreased by violent crime has decreased by 50% over the last, 30 years. And that undocumented immigrants are less responsible for crime in this country than more. Yeah. So it's and I just like to say, open your eyes. We have a real serious problem right now. And Latinos and Latinas, by the way, were heavily targeted to be recipients of mis and disinformation.
Yep.
And so many of them believe this like, pues sí, pues que se lleven a los criminales. ¿Quién quiere los criminales?
Sí.
I mean, who wants criminals? You don't, right? So they're like, we don't want criminals. And it's like, yeah, but the problem is that in their eyes, you are the criminal.
Yeah.
If you talk like this and you're like, I don't want the criminals.
Yeah.
I don't want them. Get them away from me. And I'm like, no te escuchas. You're not hearing yourself.
You're not seeing yourself either.
You are the target. You're not seeing yourself.
So how do we talk to our Latino family members about that?
Pues, I mean, I don't, I just went through a situation with una prima in Mexico, who I connected with her, and it was almost impossible to have a conversation with her. Yeah. Hasta me faltó el respeto, and I called up Mom. I was like, you know what? Ella debería de disculparse conmigo, y mi mamá me dice, a mí me falta respeto todo el tiempo about the politics thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So some people, casi imposible. But other people, again, gently, one, I think we have to be curious, so try to listen, but then to gently say, well, can we work on this together? Can we understand what media literacy is when we triple check with 3 reputable sources? Or we're going to have to bring it up to 4 or 5 reputables.
Yeah.
And we can't give up. I think part of we're seeing it now that Latinos and Latinas are souring on Donald Trump. So slowly there is, I'm not saying that all of them and immediately, but there is a souring. And so we have to have open lines so that people who are questioning can come back into a more normal place, because where they're living is completely abnormal. I'm sorry, es que no es verdad.
Yeah.
The reality that they're living. And anybody who believes that the First Amendment should be crossed at all times and that the Supreme Court should only vote in support of a president, we have much bigger issues then, right?
Yeah.
But still, trying not. I think the essence of the work that we do at Futuro Media and Latino USA is to, frankly, now combat against mis and disinformation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we used to be just journalists, and it's like, no, now you actually are on the front lines of combating it.
Right. Yeah. And, coming back to like what, anybody, people here, people in El Paso, people in Austin, Texas, in Houston, in LA, Portland, like we love our tacos, right? And we want to support them. And that's like at the basic level, ¿verdad? But what can we do as like individuals? Like besides like what you just shared, is there a certain thing? Because when like what I've always said is like taqueros and taqueras have been there for us. They've been feeding our families. They've been helping be community hubs and place of gathering. But how can we be there for them?
Well, I think it's a question of how you understand solidarity. Like, for example, my role is to be the best journalist that I can, right? To run an independent nonprofit media company, Futuro Media, that depends on your support. Hint, hint. Become a member of Futuro Plus so that you don't have to hear the commercials on iHeartMedia. But so that's one thing, right? We understand the work that we have to do, and we're doubling down and staying very focused, even though los ataques are coming, right? I mean, Futuro was funded by a Mexican immigrant journalist woman who's flat-chested, everything Donald Trump hates. That was a joke. You can laugh. So, los ataques vienen. We're doubling down on what we do. My question for you, and that's in a way my solidarity with my country, the United States of America, where my founding father of journalism of conscience is Frederick Douglass, right? So that's what I do. That is my solidarity. Your solidarity is something you have to spend some time thinking about, right?
Yep.
So it is, like you said, well, go and spend your money at the taqueria that you like, con el taquero that you like. Like, go and spend your money there. But also, when people are like, I don't know what to do, it's overwhelming. I'm like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? So there are community-based organizations that have been around for a long time in a place like Austin and throughout Texas and throughout the country. Yeah. So find those reputable community-based organizations and support them by asking them what they need.
Yeah.
And saying, well, look, I have these skills that I can donate or volunteer. Whatever your skills may be that you're like, no, they don't really need that. And you're like, maybe they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they do actually need a cat sitter for the office. I don't know. In other words, I just think it's important that people not feel like I have to reinvent the wheel. And I think showing up. So, when people say like the only thing that's going to save us is community, and it's like, well, how do you measure that? And it's like, it is hard to measure. But we also know that being in community like this, right? It's a Monday morning early.
Yeah.
Y'all woke up early, put on some nice clothes. Yeah. You made me wake up early and put on. I was going to get better dressed for you.
Cut through Austin traffic.
Yeah. I was going to wear a really cute little black dress. And then I was like, wait, it's Austin and it's Monday morning. Put on jeans. You're okay. So being in community, doing things to create community. I've held salons at my home. Yeah. Just salons where it's just like, we're not going to do anything but eat taquitos. I serve them taquitos. Yep. And you know, I believe very much because my formation of participatory democracy in this country was when I still had a green card as a little girl, and going to protests. Mi mamá me llevó to the protests in support of civil rights and black people and Black Lives Matter in the 1960s, and Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, etc. So, if you can, that is part of what we do in a democracy. Oh yeah, in Mexico, I just posted it. I was like, yes, we are extraordinarily proud of having a woman president in Mexico. But let me tell you, la gente de Mexico sigue protestando. People are protesting. I said, to be clear, Mexicans protest and pray every day. You will see a protest in Mexico City every day, and in small towns, donde sea, every day. So, that is civil society. That is how we participate. Yeah. And I also, you know, I know that people feel overwhelmed, which is why we have to take care of ourselves. And I'm a big proponent of this, happy to talk about all the things that I do, because I think I've been around long enough that I know, like, híjoles, es que no, you cannot burn out at 25. Because some version of this is going to be around when you're 50 or 75. And you have to have the wherewithal to be engaged with our democracy, like, forever. Because for us, democracy is not a given. Yeah. For me, not being born in this country, democracy is not a given for me. For the immigrants in my family, for the black people in my family, democracy is not a given. We have to fight for it. And it's a lifelong fight. It's a lifelong fight.
Beautiful, beautifully said. And with that, I would love to get some questions from the audience. We have some time for a couple questions.
Can we bring up the lights a little? Poor people. You're all just
all right, and we have a mic right here, so
don't be afraid.
Shy.
You can ask me a food question too. I love
don't
food
be shy.
Questions. Like, I know a lot about certain kinds of food, not just tacos. Yeah. Bagels and hot dogs.
Yes, and please, as you come up, introduce yourself, tell us your name, and what question you have for Miss Maria.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on the parallels between what's happening here in the United States in terms of oppression and what's happening in Palestine.
Do I have any thoughts?
Yeah, specifically on the parallels in which we might both be living. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I cannot draw a parallel. Because the people of Gaza, there is a genocide. And we know this, and it horrifies us. It is a genocide. The proof, again, United Nations, genocide historians and experts, and the numbers, which are so horrific. So, immigrants in the United States are not experiencing a genocide. I am so profoundly interested in this connection that actually I'm making my way towards the Middle East. I'll just say that. And part of it is to document student activism in the United States. And many of those student activists are Latino and Latina. It connects with us because we understand the colonial state. We understand, and again, many of us, you know, I was obsessed with the Holocaust as a little girl. I grew up in a very Jewish community. So many of us love our Jewish family and friends, but we can be critical of a Jewish state, rather the state of Israel that is practicing genocide. And I think that when you see the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, in her declarations around Gaza and Palestine, there is an understanding de que los palestinos siempre han sido echados al lado. And that is not correct. You cannot do this to a people. What we can talk about in our country are some other horrific terms, right, that people get very upset when I use. And I contextualize them. So we are experiencing a kind of ethnic cleansing. It's not cleansing death. Right? So I make these very clear distinctions. There are concentration camps in the United States.
Yeah.
They may not be death camps, although increasing number of people are dying in these concentration camps. You are not ethnically cleansing, i.e. mass shooting, although El Paso, would qualify, Uvalde would qualify. But we are experiencing the absolute clarity of the message, which is, if you are brown, if you are any other color than white, you are suspect, as per the Supreme Court, basically. So I think it's these deep historical parallels. I think there's also something very profound, which is we love children, Mexicanos, Mexicanas, Latinos y Latinas. Like, that's part of it's kind of how we're raised. And to see the level of suffering of children, children who, si andan en las calles de Mexico, they think they're Mexican kids, right? They look like us. And so it is, and I see it in my own family. My daughter will not stop. This is her issue. And I look at her and I'm like, mis respetos. So I think it just goes very deep and very profound. And I can't wait for this horror to end.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. Who would like to follow that up?
Hi,
Tell us your
my
name.
is Juani Torres. I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, but my whole family is in Monterrey, Nuevo León. And I grew up in a K-12 system in San Antonio that was 98% Mexican American, but it was third, fourth, fifth generation Mexican American. So I was bullied as the other by my Mexican peers, right? And I was called a wetback by a kid that looked just like me, si no más, mexicano con el nopal en la frente, that felt that even if their last name was Rodriguez, they were American first. I was Mexican. And it's taken me, 30-something years to come to a sense of strength and love for who I am as a Mexican American in Texas. But it also, I guess, kind of frustrates me now that if we had listened to kids like me in K-12, because the rhetoric that those kids, my peers, were spewing at me is the rhetoric that we see nationally elevating this presidency. It is the rhetoric of those kids in my K-12 system that is leading to Mexican-American ICE agents taking our people. We could have perhaps shifted some of our circumstances. And so I guess I would like to ask you, with all your journalism and all your research, what do you see our role being now with Mexican Americans in Texas who still believe they're American first, Mexican second, but are being terrorized, whether they recognize it or not, by that same government that they pledge allegiance to?
Thank you for your question. I really appreciate that, and I'm sorry you were bullied. You're much cuter than him. So we all grew up, I assume, many of us in this room, and maybe many listening, with a saying that is, we just heard it. We may not have understood. It is, hay que mejorar la raza. Right? Hay que mejorar la raza. We have to make our race better. And the code was marry somebody white to make our race better. So they have internalized your friends, right? The second and third and fourth generation Mexicanos from here have internalized that from Mexico and the messaging from the United States, which is telling us that white is powerful, white is respect. I'm not making stuff up. Like in Texas, how many statues do you have of Mexicanos? Okay, men, Mexican men. I'll even give you that. Forget Mexicanas. So everywhere, white men are celebrated, right? And so muchos, right, look at Donald Trump and they're like, but we want to be that. It is, when I wrote an essay about this, people came after me. You know, they were just like, why are you saying this? And it's like, I don't want to say it, and it's very complicated. And I speak, again, from things that I have heard, where I have my students, because I'm Mexican, I have 16 jobs, so I also am a professor, and my students who will kind of reveal in the process of doing our work on identity that they look at themselves in the mirror and they don't see a brown woman. Like, más mexicana no podía ser con el nopal en la frente, and she's like, no, but I don't really look Mexican. And I'm like, wow. So there was no fault, right? It was a dialogue. It was like, well, and then it was her revelation of like, wow, I actually have been telling myself this. And I experienced it too, right? We all do, right? Because we live in a country that, sadly, like to get really graphic about it, so, you know, there is white supremacy historically in this country. By the way, también se va para Mexico. O sea, look at the telenovelas in Mexico. Please, let's be clear. Like, that is what you are going for. Now we have a president in Mexico who is, you know, El Año de la Mujer Indígena, 2025. Whether or not las mujeres indígenas are actually like internalizing that into, and with support of owning their power, I think, you know, is difícil, but at least I'll take performative, right? It's like we're going to celebrate her here, right here, every morning at the Mañanera. It's going to be 2025 Year of Indigenous Woman. You know, it might help actually if they actually showed the faces of Indigenous women so that the women who are watching the Mañanera could see themselves. So I think that this is where, again, you know, everything is unfolding as we speak. This horror, it can get worse. I mean, we saw full-blown military-scale invasion in downtown Chicago yesterday, in my city. Straight up. So, se va a poner peor. But we can't go much farther right than this. And I think that, you know, the pendulum of American history means that we're going to end up over here. And the question then is how you are going to be a part of that conversation, right? So what does a different kind of Latino and Latina power look like? And you know, if you can, like, I mean, for some people, they are Mexican trompistas forever and ever. Órale. And I have them in my family, a propósito. Yeah. So it's not like I don't. But also this country has made history. This country is a country of rebel history. You know, again, I think of Frederick Douglass. First black man, freed black man to own his own press and newspaper called the North Star. It's a rebel country. There has always been the pushing against. And so that's part of what we're doing, right? Something else, o sea, ahí sí también voy a otro Mexican phrase that I love and is my favorite, which is, no hay mal que por bien no venga. There is no bad from which good cannot come. Something good has got to come after all of this horror. And I'm really putting it on you to help build it.
Well, with that, thank you so much for the conversation.
Nobody wants to know what food I travel with?
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
Come on. There you go.
No, it's not a burrito.
All right.
I guess so many incredible things are happening right now in our community, especially how we're transforming Mexican food. And to some people, oh, that's not authentic. Oh, what are they doing? They're changing our foods. It's like, how can we transform something so simple into still something so sophisticated? But then at the same time, I'm also curious, what would you eat? What is your like go-to breakfast, lunch, and dinner? If you were to describe the perfect day of something that is authentic,
Wait, and I'm not going to gain any weight?
I know, right? No.
So no weight gain at all?
No. Let's be honest.
That makes it worse. When I gain weight, it means that much more because I'm so small. But you're saying like in a perfect world with no
Yeah.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Describe to us your perfect day, your perfect food. And it could be anything as chilaquiles, calories don't count. The hot dog calories don't count because you said you are proud.
All right. Let me go through a few. So first of all, the food that I travel with, just so you know, is I have a bag of popcorn this big that I bake, that I fry, that I pop myself. This big, Ziploc, this big. I travel with it until like I'm gonna finish the one that I have, and I've been on the road for like almost a week. I keep it fresh, don't worry, and dark chocolate. So that's like that's what keeps me like.
I put that without knowing.
No,
I actually,
you didn't know?
I put that.
Bro, you saved me last
I told
night.
Samuel's helping you, right?
Yeah.
But I told him, get dark chocolate and popcorn and fizzy water.
You must have known.
No, I didn't. Well, okay.
You knew about the popcorn.
Raul told me about the popcorn.
Yeah, right.
But dark chocolate, you got to have dark chocolate.
That was good. Thank you. You saved me last night. It's right there by my bedside. All right. So the perfect day, I did just have breakfast at El Cardenal in Mexico City, if you don't know. So, and this would not be typical. Like, this is just one day. This is not every day. It's one day. I would have, and I'm not a fan of conchas because too often conchas are too dry. Óyeme, the conchas at El Cardenal. And I didn't eat the full one. Like, my niece got it, and I was like, pues un pedacito. And then I was like, oh, God, I'm dying. Con chocolate, okay? I would have the chilaquiles made by my prima for breakfast when I had breakfast in familia, el desayuno, with my 99-year-old tia Gloria. She made
Verdes o rojas?
verdes, which is interesting, you know? Verdes. Now, I like, for me, when I make my chilaquiles, they're crunchy. Mm-hmm. But these were not. And I was totally down with it. Perfect. A ver, for lunch, but la comida, so not lunch, Mexican style. La comida, I was lucky enough to be served chiles en nogada. And these are the best chiles en nogada I have ever had in my life. They were made by una señora oaxaqueña en la casa de mi primo. Oh my God. Like, whoa. Like, I don't dream about chiles en nogada. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I gotta go. But I will go back to his house to have her chiles en nogada. Nothing. It was crunchy. El chile estaba crujiente.
Oh, wow.
So she does not deep fry them.
Okay.
Muchos lo deep fry. She doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what she did. Oh. And then for dinner, I would have tacos parados. With mucha cebollita. Mucha cebollita, right there on the grill. Guacamole, obvio. Huge guacamole. And then let's just say that we would go out, and dance, let's just say, and there was no weight gaining problem. I would have some pupusas before I went to sleep.
Ándale.
Revueltas.
Ándale.
Revueltas.
Nice. That's beautiful. Hey, well, you know
God,
what?
I'm so hungry now.
And now we're all hungry. The good thing is we're going to Veracruz Fonda for lunch, so I think you're going to like it. Well, Maria, thank you so much for the conversation and just kind of sharing your life experience and just also just advice of what we can all do, in our communities, because change happens, aquí. Aquí, it's after you walk out that doors. That door, one door. But change happens right here, ¿verdad? So with that, thank you so much. Please help me give a round of applause.
Thank you, Mando.
Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, KUT. Don't forget, this is where Latino USA was once distributed. I don't see any Latino USA posters on the walls here at KUT.
Let's go.
I'm just shaming you a little bit,
let's
KUT.
go.
You should be proud. We've won the Peabody. Just saying.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.